Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now to our top news story. For years, Arron Banks has styled himself as the bad boy of Brexit, a man who poured millions of pounds into UKIP and the Brexit campaign from his personal fortune, made from a multitude of businesses. The literal jewel in the crown, perhaps, his diamond business, with mines in southern Africa and a shop in Bristol. In the past, he's claimed these diamond mines produced thousands of carats of gems and considered raising millions of pounds against them. But how successful these mines are and how the business was established is now the subject of a huge controversy. None more so than in the tiny landlocked kingdom of Lesotho, where Arron Banks claimed he was reviving the national economy through mining and investment. This programme has obtained documents indicating that Mr. Banks ordered payments of many thousands of pounds to the personal account of a minister in Lesotho. Both Mr. Arron Banks and the minister in Lesotho deny that this is a bribe. From Lesotho, our foreign correspondent Jonathan Rugman has this exclusive report.
In the rocks of one of the world's poorest countries lie some of the world's richest deposits of diamonds. Lesotho's rivers are a different story. The diamonds there are alluvial, washed down over millions of years. Their movement's often difficult to predict, and it's often tougher to raise money from investors who can't be sure any find is commercially viable. Which raises the question, why, in 2014, did Arron Banks acquire a prospecting licence at this alluvial mine? In September last year, Arron Banks announced a significant diamond discovery here in Lesotho. He said his aim was to invest heavily and that this would help spearhead the revival of Lesotho's diamond industry. Since then, there has been a complete change of heart, because one of his mine's local directors has said that in 3 years of prospecting, the results have not been promising, and that therefore this mine will shut. Mr. Banks had broken the news of a find in a UKIP-supporting publication, The Economic Voice. The article talked of 4 sizable high-quality diamonds discovered in the Sebupala mine. We're confident the mine will generate important royalties for the economy, he said in a statement. The staff were told in May that the mine will close next month. The panning machine is no longer operational, and the earth is being taken back to the vast hole from where it came. When the sun sets on Mr. Banks's mine, around 15 people will lose their jobs. They include Julia and Florina, a bookkeeper and pan operator, paid the equivalent of around £100 a month. We meet in a corrugated shack where one of them lives, with no electric power. They've heard of Arron Banks.
We know that Arron is the owner of the mine.
And they are astonished when I tell them that last year the British businessman announced a significant diamond find.
And the big question everyone wants to know is, did they find diamonds?
No. They told us that they don't find diamonds.
That's why they closed the mine.
We're running out of words to express our shock, Julia tells me. The only excitement we ever experienced was the office Christmas party. Mautsabeng Tomane was also employed at the mine, and she told me she owns the land.
No.
This is the first time we heard such information, she said, when I asked her if she had seen or heard of any diamonds. She added that Mr. Banks's company had paid her just 13 sacks of maize a year as compensation for the loss of her fields. The man crouching at his safe is Lesotho's mining commissioner, in charge of inspecting his country's mines. And the 5 stones he pulls out are, he says, the diamonds from Mr. Banks's mine. Worth, he estimates, no more than $3,000 for the lot.
What you're showing me are 5 stones that you say aren't very valuable. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So what do you make of what Mr. Banks said?
They are lies. It's simply lies, because
These are the only stones we have, and just 5 stones, you cannot call it a significant fund.
These stones will require Mr. Chacha's signature before Mr. Banks's company can sell them on the open market. But Mr. Chacha hasn't tested them yet. And even if he does, it's notoriously difficult to prove exactly where these stones were found. Arron Banks told us today that his company had made a small number of high-quality diamond finds. Arron Banks got involved in the Lesotho diamond business back in 2013. He began networking with local politicians. His focus was the Basotho National Party, or BNP, a small but influential party in coalition government. He attended rallies for the party and he donated to charities linked to it. Channel 4 News has obtained an extraordinary cache of emails which reveal a series of financial payments made to one BNP politician, John Maserebane, who was Minister for Gender and Sport at the time. They show 2 payments adding up to around £19,000 made in 2013 and the following year in cash and via bank transfer from Mr. Banks's account to the Minister's Bank in South Africa. On December 2013, Mr. Banks wrote, "The money for both purposes will be ready for collection by Moss next week. Thanks, Arron." 5 days later, Moss, who is the minister's daughter, wrote back. The minister says he collected 50,000. That's about £2,800. That day, Banks' business associate wrote, "I'm sure the 50k will be fine for now. If any more is needed urgently, we could try transferring the money from the UK." Banks replied, "I prefer to deliver the cash." By the end of December 2013, the minister asked for the rest of the money. Banks's representative wrote, John, that's the minister, would prefer the money to be transferred to his South African account. 280,000 rand, that's £16,000, to be transferred. Arron Banks then wrote to his personal bankers asking them to transfer the money to a private account in South Africa. 6 weeks later, the minister's daughter wrote to Mr. Banks, "My father had meeting with the Minister of Minings and our application has been approved." Banks replied, "Finally, now the fun begins." Last week I went to see Mr. Maserebane, who is now Communications Minister. He told me that Arron Banks had made friendly donations just to pay for T-shirts and marketing for his political party. So I pressed him on the emails.
I saw an email from Moss, your daughter, in early 2014, which said, "My father had a meeting with the mining minister and our application has been approved."
That's an information.
She said our application, as if you were involved.
No. Our application can be implicated in so many ways, but I think the application was information was being relayed to Arron.
But why wasn't he dealing with the mining ministry direct? Why was he dealing with you?
No, I just wanted to know how far is the application. Like, you know, it's normal to ask, where is my pen, how far you are. I'm away because I'm a friend of Arron, but I'm not his partner.
So he wasn't paying you to lobby to get a contract, or get a prospecting contract?
No, I don't think that was the motive.
Clearly money was being sent to you.
Yeah, well, not to me, but to the operations, but not to me.
But you're on the email, and there are several emails. I mean, there's one saying, the minister, that's you, says he only collected 50,000 rand, that's about £2,800. So the minister did collect money, and the minister is you.
Yeah, but that money was used to pay transport, because you have to pay transport for people to come from Lesotho all over. It was not used to bribe or to do anything.
But the emails clearly show that he was in contact with you while he was trying to get a mining license, except you were the Minister for Gender, Youth and Recreation.
No bribe was paid to release the prospecting license. Please, I said this earlier. Don't go around and come with the same question. He's a friend. He was a friend to me. Please, man, can you respect my friendship with Arron?
Arron Banks told us in a statement this afternoon he absolutely refuted the allegation that payments to the minister were made for the granting of mining licences. He said he was pleased to donate under 2 million rand, that's £107,000, to help Mr Mazeribani and his work, given his commitment to the issues of poverty and women's empowerment, and that he was proud of his work in Lesotho. As for this diamond mine, well, Mr Banks didn't comment on the ending of operations here or his previously stated aim to invest heavily. But he said he was continuing to assess the viability of mining in Lesotho. All this begs more questions about precisely what he was doing here and how he was doing it. Jonathan Rugman, Channel 4 News, Lesotho.
Well, joining us now from Westminster is the Labour MP Ben Bradshaw, who's been campaigning for an investigation into Arron Banks and his financial connections to the Brexit campaign. We're talking in the context already of overspending in the campaign by the Brexiteers. Now there are serious questions about the biggest individual donor to the Brexiteers campaign. What are you going to do about it?
Well, John, it's all very mysterious, isn't it? Every new revelation about Mr Banks and his complex international business dealings and his dealings with the Russians contradict versions of events that he's previously given, including to Parliament. And with multiple investigations underway by the Electoral Commission, the Information Commissioner and others, and with the findings already of law-breaking both by Mr Banks's Leave.EU and the official Leave campaign, I really do think it's now time for the police or the National Crime Agency to investigate this fully, because we must have confidence, the public must have confidence in the security and the integrity of our voting system, including in something as important as the EU referendum.
But he's already been in front of a committee of MPs and walked away with a smile on his face.
Well, he did walk away with a smirk, I would say, rather than a smile on his face. But I think you had the chairman of that committee, a Conservative member of Parliament, telling you last Friday that he was wholly dissatisfied with Mr Banks' evidence to the committee, and that, again, it has subsequently been found not to be true in terms of specifically the number of meetings he'd had with not just the Russian ambassador here in London, but with the people that he put him in contact, including people, as I understand it, from other media reports, to discuss gold and diamonds. So there's a lot of mystery and dark and cloud here, and I just think the public looking in on this, however they voted in the EU referendum, will want to be satisfied that that referendum result was legitimate, and it wasn't as a result of either any illegality or dodgy funding or any other law breaking, because it was so close, and it's the biggest single decision this country has taken for a very, very long time. We must have confidence in the integrity of that result. That's why I think both the government and our criminal investigation bodies need to look into this properly so the public can have that confidence.
Well, specifically, Mr Banks denies bribery, and so does the minister. But if bribery were proved, we're talking about a situation in which that is a criminal offence in our law here.
It is. I haven't seen the emails to which your report just referred, but I hope that our agencies here are watching your programme and have seen some of the other excellent journalism that you and Carol Cadwallader from The Observer and Guardian have been forging on this.
Well, let me just press you on this, because Parliament is now going on holiday tomorrow, and Brexit is on the move. What's to be done in the 6 or 7 weeks that you lot are away?
Well, the 6 or 7 weeks of the parliamentary recess doesn't prevent individual MPs or groups of MPs writing to the Metropolitan Police and the National Crime Agency, asking them to investigate these allegations as a matter of urgency. They've already had other law-breaking referred to them by the Electoral Commission, by the Information Commissioner, but somebody needs to bring all of this stuff together. It's very complex, as you will know, as Channel 4 will know, having worked on this for a very long time. It's very difficult to piece together these complex webs of business interests and money movements. But I think until we've got to the bottom of this and the public can be satisfied that they know the truth, there will always be a question mark hanging over the legitimacy of the referendum result, and that's something whether you should care about whether you voted Leave or Remain.
Ben Bradshaw, thank you very much indeed for joining us from Westminster.